Even if you have a lot of numbers about your business, believe me, you make one huge, enormous mistake. There is a question from business owners. What analytics I should track in my company? And I want to tell you there is one mistake. Almost, if you really have analytics, have your data on your income and value of your service or goods delivery, or your profit, or your payroll size, or something, even if you have a lot of numbers about your business, believe me, you make one huge, enormous mistake. Because maybe you notice that even if you have this data, it's hard to use them in your real life, everyday activity as a manager, as a business owner. And this is why the form, how really you collect this data and how you represent this data to understand what happens in your company also makes sense. Not only data itself. For example, the biggest mistake in this area, you have data on your income or your margin, profit margin, or your value of service delivery once per month. And you get them after 5 or 6 days after this month is done. 1 month, guys, it was centuries ago. Now we don't live this way. We need to have all the data immediately. We promote something, we need to understand what happens as the result. How many leads we have as the result of our promotion immediately, today. And tomorrow we'll need to know how our salespeople handle all these leads. So first thing you need to do, you need to measure all the key points of your company weekly. It's a very important thing to measure it weekly, on the weekly basis. So it means you have some beautiful graphs and they show how your income changes every week. Is it going down or does it go up? And you see it, it's clear. And you have this clear picture week by week. And we do it exactly this way in our business, in our company. And the same thing with the value of your service or your product delivery, because you need to see what happens with your service, what happens with your product. And the same thing when it comes to some other very important measurements. For example, leads, new clients, new patients, number of contracts or clients signed, or some measurements on your quality of your service, of your product. And my experience says that it doesn't matter what your company size is. Maybe you have 10 employees or you have 200 employees. You need to measure at least 15 key points to understand what happens in your business. And you know what's really interesting? That the smaller your company is, the more important these measurements are. Because if you have a small company, you have very limited resources. And the reason why we measure it, and the reason why we represent it this way, to have this view, to understand what happens if we go up or we go down. The reason is pretty simple. This is the main information for us as a manager to change something right now, not in months, but right now, to make right decisions. And if we made some decision and as a result of this decision our income goes down, so we need to correct it. So we made mistake, and it becomes obvious if you measure results, if you measure all these key points on the weekly basis. So this is the main problem, really. And it's not about how many KPIs or how many indicators you need to have. I believe for every business at least 15. But also the biggest mistake, how often you really measure it. 1 month, it's not enough. And guys, it's hard to believe, but there are some businesses, they measure it only once per 3 months. Some business people, they just look at their P&L once per year. Oh, our P&L is not good for this year. It's insane, really. In the modern world, we don't live this way. So I suggest you to look at this topic, and I suggest you to start to draw some graphs which show week by week what happens in your business, and you will be able to control much better.